Hello friends, my name is Doug. Welcome to Third Style Garage. Today's project is a little different. We're going to be working on this workbench I've got in the background. It is a great workbench. I love being able to have all the little trays up top for my bolts and springs and wire clippings and all of those good fittings and things. The problem is it has just a little 1/4-inch piece of plywood for a work surface, which doesn't take much weight, and if I pound on it or put something heavy on it at all, the whole thing bounces and all the trays rattle and stuff starts flying off of it. If you've watched before, that's my Jeep, but hanging here is the bench vise that I restored, and I would like to put it on this workbench, but have it be nice and sturdy and solid so that I can pound and wheel on it and form steel and put a breaker bar on it with something that's in the vise and have the bench not go anywhere. So I'd like a much sturdier surface, and I'd like the bench to be solid to the wall. So that's today's project. If you find projects like this interesting and helpful, I would love it if you'd leave a comment or a question or suggestions below for others to learn from, and me too, and subscribe so that others can find the channel too. Have a great day. Let's see how this goes. It is a workbench that is quite old. It's a nice steel bench with sheet metal sides. I added a piece of plywood to kind of divide my welding grinding area from the work area to also give me a place to hang stuff. Then on the bench, I just have a collection of, as I've parted out cars, I kept the bolts, nuts, and screws, miscellaneous hose clamps, and lug bolts, all typically Volkswagens, and then random electrical screws, fuses, fittings. Then I've got all of my number 4, number 6, all the way up to half 13 and half 20 bolts, and then random basically hose fittings on this side. And you can also see I've got some manuals, some tubs for storage. All of this stuff rattles like crazy when I use this bench. So we're gonna pull it all apart, take a look at it, and figure out what's the best way to make this thing rock solid. All right, so the bench is emptied and kind of taken apart, and I'm trying to figure out how I wanna do this. I wanna have, a nice thick 2 or 3 inch wooden work surface that's not gonna have any flex and have some heft to it. I need to attach it to the wall because right now it's bumped up against the wall on the bottom, but there's about a 1/2 inch gap in the back, probably because the feet aren't level or the floor is not level. So what I'm thinking is, I've got a stud here, here, here. So I got 3 studs that I can connect to, but they don't line up with the edges. So I'm scratching my head how to handle that. The baseboard down here is a 1 inch thick board that I can get a pretty good solid anchor there. I also think that I can probably put some screws through this bottom plate into the studs, and then screws through this top flange into the wall studs. That should suck it up nice and tight to the wall, and then I just adjust the leveling plates in the front to snug it up. But I'm not sure how to attach my workbench. So I'm toying with the idea of taking this out and then just going with a new deck bench all the way out to the edge. So it would be wood all the way out to the edge. How am I going to do that? Not real sure yet. I got to figure that out. I'm going to scratch my head for a little bit. I'm back. I'm about an hour and a half into this project. I did not film most of it, mainly because I was in the mood to just listen to music, and you can't do that and film at the same time. but also I want to create some shorter videos, and a lot of mine have been quite long lately. So the workbench itself is very solidly fixed to the wall. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 GRKs going into the studs there. 1, 2, I would say 3, but that one missed the stud. I don't know what happened there. 4 there, plus 1, 2 on the bottom. So it is rigidly fixed to the wall, and that made things incredibly tight. I did take the front beam off, so it is now open. I attached a 4x4 that is exactly 3 inches below this top work surface with GRKs through the back, 4 of them there, 4 of them here, giving me a good solid rigid to mount my worktop. And then I was gonna put a 2x4 back to the corner, a 2x4 back to the floor in the corner there. And I tried to adjust the feet on the floor, and I didn't feel like it was quite as strong as it could be. And so in the end, I decided I'm just gonna run a 2x4 straight down to the floor and straight down to the floor. I don't know what the column strength of a 2x4 is, but it's far more than what I would ever put on a workbench. And then just ran deck screws through the side in. So I love how this is turning out. It is so stinking rigid. I feel like you could park a truck on it now. So next, I need to go to the store and buy a whole bunch of 2x4s. I'm gonna rip them down to 3 inches so there's not a radius on the top, so I'll have a smooth work surface. And then I'm gonna stack them from back to front and then put a front skirt on to finish it off. But I'm out of time tonight, and I need to go buy the 2x4s for that. So checking out for now. Be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. It's the next night. It is time to go upstairs out of the warm into the unheated space. These are the 2x4s. 2x4s I'm going to be using for the bench top. I've got several more down there. One I'm working on cutting up right now. Why are they so dark and ugly, you might ask? That's a good question. And why am I using them? Because I have them. I had a deck on the flat part of my kitchen. There's actually another video about building a corrugated arched roof on my house. I'm super proud of that project. These are left over from the teardown of that. So I've got a bunch of, I'm guessing they're 14 or 15 foot 2x4s that are womanized, that were part of a deck, hence all the miscoloring. So I'm gonna cut these up, just using my little circular saw, into 57-inch chunks. Then I'm gonna rip them down to 3-inch on the table saw. I'm gonna go do that now. I had the first 2 cut. I just wanted to show you why they're dirty right now, but eventually they will sit nice and flat like that together, which should give me a nice work surface as opposed to kind of the radius edge of the board. Plus these are so dirty and stained that this will just turn out a whole lot nicer. And then I will run screws through each one, pulling them tight together. So 2 done, 16 more to go. All right, it's pretty sweet. This is going together. I am happy with it. So I have all the board stacked in the corner here. I've got 3 of them in. They're not perfectly smooth because they all warp up and down a little bit differently, but I got them definitely good enough for a workbench. They are old and full of nail holes. So my process has been, and I might fast forward some of this, I'm just hitting it with an electric sander to smooth out each side and get rid of the burrs sticking up so they'll clamp together flat like this. This green on here that you can see is just a little bit of leftover glue from its previous use. So they slide right in there. What I've been doing is just putting 1 screw in on the end halfway. And And then I lift it up or down to get the top flush. Drive it in nice and tight. Put a screw somewhere in the middle. This one's already nice and flush here. That pulled in tight. And now if I need to push the other end up or down, and I do not on this one, it is nice and flush. Now they are just attached to each other, so this whole plank can come out. So I think I will put a couple toe screws in, maybe on my next board, and then I'll do that again once I get out here just to keep it attached to this 4x4. But pretty easy, 4 done, 14 to go.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the wind crying out its prayer. Why are we so ashamed to be alive? Break the chains and our freedom's ours to take.
Houston, we have a problem. I bumped this back block up against the back of the fence. I did not measure, and then I think it was board 5, I put a screw in on a toenail. I don't know where this is gonna come out. Ideally, kind of need it to come out flush with the end of that 4x4 so I can put a faceplate right here. But the odds of this gap working out to exactly the right width is wrong. So I think unfortunately, the only thing I can think of right now is to go backwards and undo that so I can shift the whole board. I could always toenail in from the bottom afterwards. Bummer pants. Should have thought that one through more.
Look behind your back. Chase a light when the world is getting darker. I have a dream where love's the only side. So take my hand, join the army of the shadows.
Okay, time for a little bit of a finishing touch. It's all kind of sanded smooth, and I just want to put a little bit of a sealer, something that's going to mask dirt and stains, protect it a little bit, and give it a little bit of a nice golden wood look to it. And this might surprise you a bit. I've got an old crappy piece of Tupperware and used motor oil. You might be asking yourself, really, is this serious? Google it, it's a real thing. People use it for outdoor protection on wood. Works very well, and you know what? I'm probably gonna have a transmission or small engine block sitting on here someday. That's gonna make it even oiler, so might as well break it in that way. Let's see how it looks. Kinda like it. Plus it's a smell I've grown to appreciate. All right, keep going. Time for time lapse.
Going harder, we are more than numbers, standing in the shade.
All right, to be honest, when I did this with used motor oil, I've only done this once before, particularly with really old womanized wood. I had no idea if it was going to turn out nice or not, and this is way better than I expected. It's got to soak in a little bit and dry, but I just love how this looks. I love the variety. I love the pop of the color. I love kind of the smoky hue to it. I love that I won't feel bad dragging something across this and scratching it and spilling other oil on it and wiping it clean. And I am really happy with that. Couple things I'm contemplating. One is I'd eventually like, I think right here or right here, to put a bench vise. And that is part of a previous video that I'm restoring an old bench vise. The other thing I'm contemplating is moving the power strip down to here, because the problem is if you're working right here and then you have something plugged in, that cord is now in the way. The problem is I don't have a good way to get, if I mount the cord here, I don't have a good way to get it up through to the outlet, and I don't have an outlet underneath. So if I do that, I might have to punch a hole in here or something, and I haven't figured that out yet. So that would be the last steps of it, but I'm gonna let this soak in, and we'll be pretty close to wrapping up this project. And it's a short, quick one, but I'm super happy with it. Here's the final project, week and a half later. So trash can bench. Here's the bench vise. I'm smart enough to I'll figure out how to put a link somewhere to that episode or playlist if you want to watch the restoration of that. Decided to move my hanging cordless tool set over to this wall. It was over here. I moved all the drawers over there. I do more assembly of intricate things here, which makes sense to have the drawers, and the tools can hang on the wall separate from the bench. So the upper shelf just has a couple things on it. Did end up running the cords through, drilled and ground a hole there to get the cords through, and move the power strip down there. I love having power strip on a workbench, especially that big long guy. They're inexpensive at Menards, and that way you've got one cord back to where the outlet is. So love this project. It's another part of this shop that I love. Hopefully helps you build something you love as well. Have a great day.